else, but they can do calculus. Think about the curious incident of the dog in the nighttime. That's a pretty good explanation. But I don't know. There's some things I just can't do. Like, I've tried to work a job with the cash register and I can't do it. I can't do math in front of people while they're watching me. It's physically painful. It's horrible. Context blindness, which I've already mentioned. Once two mutual friends of mine were on a coffee date together, and I walked right up into their coffee date, and I had no idea it was a date, and I talked to them for like 10 minutes, and I think I ruined it. Anyway, and so I feel bad about that, but I don't think they were meant to be together. I hope not. So yeah, we're good in one-on-one situations and not in group situations. And for me, that manifested in like being a tutor. I was great at tutoring people one-on-one and talking to them about like a specific problem and concern. But when it came time for me to teach like an entire class of people, I had a good grasp of the content, but I had no idea how to engage with them as a group. It was very strange. So I had to pretend they were one person. And I don't know, I don't really think it was the best for my students because I didn't really have a good grasp on how to plan for courses because there was no class leading up to that to teach me how to plan for courses. And yes, those classes are offered and pedagogy is a thing that exists in university systems, but the master's degree track I was on and the stipend I had was be, a research assistant, a teaching assistant, and then an instructor, and it was like that. And there was no like separate class to talk about how to instruct. I guess they thought it was like driving. You ride in cars with people all your life and you watch and you learn, and most people don't have a hard time driving. But that's not enough for me. I need specific instructions and goals. I mean, I was 26 when I got my driver's license because I had to practice for 10 years because it was just so frightening. It's a giant metal machine being piloted down the highway by fools. I mean, so... And then there's also some people have a really low pain threshold or a really high pain threshold. And I can touch hot things. I mean, but we could go on and on and on about, different part and parcel of autism, things that affect people. I'm happy to field questions. Usually I end up having teachable moments with people because if somebody refers to autism or autistics in front of me in a public setting, I feel the need to tell them, hey, I'm autistic, watch what you say. And then they have questions and then they want to know things. And I mean, even I've run into healthcare professionals that say, no, only boys have that, only children have that. First of all, that's such flawed logic. Even if you do think that only males have autism, like, doesn't it stand to reason that autistic boys grow up to become autistic men? Like, you don't just grow out of it. It's not a speech impediment. Dead air, I guess. But yeah, I urge anybody that has questions to Google the Autistic Self-Advocacy Network and, learn about different things and to avoid what different celebrities and people like that say. It's kind of ridiculous. And if you think, your child has autism, you should get them diagnosed as early as possible so that they can benefit from resources and, have a better experience. I mean, I think that being a woman and being white helped me avoid jail and especially like juvenile detainment, as I was coming up because I was under a lot of stress growing up, from different things going on in my home environment. Different video. But there were times when I became violent and aggressive and had meltdowns in public in an educational setting, in secondary school. And nothing was really done about it. And I feel that if I'd been a boy, I would have been punished. And definitely if I'd been a person of color, there would have been some kind of, punishment, probably an unfair one. And I went through so many different schools and so many different people. And my behavior was erratic at best. I slept a lot in class. I was rude. I was violent. There were years when my clothes didn't fit. There were years when I was food insecure. And not one teacher or counselor ever reached out to help me. I never once received any help from an adult. I remember once in junior high, I was feeling deeply, deeply depressed. And I wanted to discuss it with a counselor. And I predicated upon that they could not discuss it with my mother because she does not believe in seeking help for that kind of thing. And of course, when I got home, I was in deep shit because she knew about it and put it off as being seasonal affective disorder. And then when I went back to school the next week, the counselor wanted to follow up with it. And I was like, I'm not talking to you. I mean, does everybody think that everybody has just great parents and all these resources at their fingertips? It's ridiculous, especially since I grew up in a relatively poor and rural area where, you know, I don't know what people think, but just based on following Facebook posts, people are pretty fucking ignorant even now. You know, my high school reunion's this year, and I'd like to go just so I can apologize to people and be like, hey, if I said really awful, uncalled for shit to you, you know, I didn't really mean it. I was, you know, caught up. I was being abused. I was being medically neglected. It was just a whole thing. And so I had to be an adult before I got a diagnosis. And just knowing that I am different for a reason really helped. And, you know, labels aren't a bad thing if you put the label on yourself. I guess they can still be a bad thing, but I don't know. Just take your ignorance elsewhere. That's what I say. Like, we have Google for a reason. Go find free Google and go educate yourself. And as far as, you know, terminology, I prefer autistic person, not person with autism. This person with autism implies that it's a disease. Excuse me. And it's not a disease, it's a different neurology, which is, you know, vastly more important. It's vastly more important to view it as a different neurology, a different kind of brain chemistry. They're actually visibly different if you look on scans. And so the way that we process things is not like the way that other people process things. You know, even back to sound, like if I'm in a car with somebody and they're talking in a regular volume, I have to ask them to talk more quietly because it hurts my face and ears. But in public settings, I tend to talk way, way too loud, and I don't have the ability to modulate my volume. And so that's irritating to a lot of people. And so sometimes I wish I could wear a medic alert bracelet so when I'm offending people, I can shake it at them. And also sometimes I want to wear a medic alert bracelet in case the cops are around me for some reason and they want to kill me. Because that's what cops do. They fucking kill people. I mean, just Google how many autistic people or other disabled people have been killed by cops in 2017. And we're almost a full month in 2018, and, you know, the police killings aren't stopping. And don't even get me started on the people of color who have been, you know, abused and murdered by the cops. It's pretty huge. So, I mean, it's something to look into. Like the police, state, the government, medical professionals, they're not on our side of autistic persons or people that are mentally ill. Also, the anxiety I suffer from is part and parcel of autism, but some of it is from my upbringing. And of course, you know, I've had issues with depression off and on my whole life that have gone unchecked until the last few years. And I'm in a good place now, but I have terrible mental health care stories that I could relay. And I know of several other people who have stories that are, you know, just as bad, if not worse. And I haven't touched on the plight of trans men and women or non-binary persons because it's a huge issue. And of course, I know nothing about it. But they're in danger of being victimized by cops and medical professionals even more than, you know, myself as a cis-het white person. You know, if I just stick to a certain script and I don't have a meltdown or freak out, people think that I'm like them and they kind of let me go by. And if I'm calm and I don't have, you know, alarm bells going off in my head, I can code switch pretty well and say the right thing to whatever old person I'm near or whatever religious person I'm near so that they think I'm one of them. And it's sort of like people have compared being autistic to being an alien who like masquerades with humans, and I definitely feel that a lot of the time that is something that um, that we do. We pick up tools and put them together and use them to be able to get by in life successfully. Um, I don't know if that's Birdie or Bearla in the window. Which one are you? It's hard to tell from that far away because they're twin ladies. So, yeah, I can't really think of anything else to say, per se, about autism. I mean, it's been a struggle. And, you know, April's coming up. It's Autism Awareness Month. And we're all aware of it. We need to be accepting of it. And most autistic organizations promote acceptance and not awareness, you know. Like PETA promotes animal rights, but not animal ethics. It's kind of like that, except nobody's throwing, you know, paint. Anyway, signing off.